All right, good evening. Great to see everybody. We kind of marketed tonight's lesson as a lesson for kids, and it is, but I think you'll find that it applies to everybody. But with the kids in mind, I want to do all the kids a huge favor. You ready? This is just for you. If any of you have parents who have warned you about looking around in church, tonight that rule does not apply. All right? My parents told me that we could actually sit anywhere we wanted in church as long as it was in front of them, and my parents sat on the second row. All right? And there was the rule. You weren't allowed to look around at church, or, you got the thump or whatever else. But tonight, that rule doesn't exist, and here's why. I want y'all to see something, so feel free to look around. If you want to stand up and turn around, you're going to want to see this. I want every adult here who got a spanking growing up to raise your hand. Now, wait. I need to define spanking. I'm not talking about the little spanking that, you get your grandparents or, somebody and you need to do a little better. No, I'm talking about a near-death experience, all right? Where somebody took you out and just laid the wood to you. Ready for this? This is great. Raise your hand if you got a spanking. Nice. Okay, this is church. They're not lying. That's good to see. All right? Let's see how long this lasts. Raise your hand if you deserved it. Now it's going to get better. Raise your hand if you should have got more. This is church, people. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And I tell you, it's kind of one of those things that we can all relate to. And I noticed everybody kind of giggled, Even the people that got that spanking, it's not, you remember it, but you're still kind of laughing about it. It's a fun laugh, but it's also a little, I don't want to go through it again laugh, Because there's nothing scarier in the world than to see your mom, the most beautiful, angelic, sweet, mild-mannered, fun-loving, compassionate person in the world, just in a moment, turn into that Revelation picture of Jesus with a sword coming out of her mouth, fiery flames out of her eyes, and she is wielding flame, and in comes the boom. That's a scary sight. And even sometimes when it wasn't coming toward you, maybe it was coming toward a sibling, or maybe you were in a restaurant and you were thinking, boy, that kid really needs a spanking, and then, oh my word, he starts getting it. Then you're going, wow, I wish I hadn't thought that. There's all that going through our mind because we know moms, and let's just be honest, and this isn't a knock on moms are compassionate about their work. And sometimes that compassion is passion, and sometimes that passion is a beating. And moms know how to drop the bombs. I want you to grab the Heavenly Library, and I want you to take down the book of Proverbs, and I want you to go to Proverbs chapter 31. Generally, when we say Proverbs chapter 31, the first thing that comes into our mind is this beautiful picture of this worthy woman. And let me just say, that is certainly an appropriate study. Now, I would also like to say this, especially to all the married women out there, all right? You ever studied the worthy woman? Have you ever thought to yourself, who in the world could actually be that? And you wonder to yourself, who in the world would have a description like this? I know it's great. I know it's what I want to be. I long to be. But who would write that? I want you to bear in mind it was written by a mother-in-law. That's an important point. Because it's a mother-in-law describing the kind of wife she wants for her husband. Or actually, her son. To be a husband. Got it? And so it is a high standard. But when she describes the woman, she's not necessarily speaking to the woman. She's speaking to her son. And in this case, her son is a king. Let's begin. Proverbs chapter 31. I want you to see the context, and I want you to see where all this begins. The words of King Lemuel. an oracle that his mother taught him. What are you doing, my son? What are you doing, son of my womb? What are you doing, son of my vows? Now, can I just stop right there and give this a little bit of interpretation I think most of us can see? If mom ever asks you what you are doing, she is not seeking information. Can we be honest with that? She's not saying, oh, I have no idea what you're up to. What are you doing? No, she knows full well what you're doing, and she doesn't like it, right? That's why she's saying it in the first place, to get your attention. I want you to think of, here's a guy, he's a king, he's sitting on a throne, and all of a sudden, his mama comes into the throne room, and she goes, what are you doing? Can you imagine everybody in there going, he is in so much trouble. Well, more than likely, this didn't happen while he was sitting on the throne. But I get the impression his mom would have stormed in there if she wanted to. It was more than likely taught to him from his youth. And what he heard over and over and over again from his mom was, what are you doing? And then notice the next line. You're the son of my womb. In other words, I brought you into this world and I'll take you out. Don't tempt me. You are my child. And whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, whatever you've connived, I'm going to change it right now. And so she begins to drop the bombs. And these are truth bombs for life. And what you're actually going to see when we get into the text are 5 truth bombs for every single one of us to live by. Specifically, she's speaking to her son. And so certainly there's going to be a clear application to all the males, all the boys, and all the fathers, all the dads in this audience. But she's also going to speak to women. Because like is going to attract like. And what she's going to do is she's going to give 5 secrets to life. Yes, they are going to be truth bombs, but I want you to know that these are the 5 wise secrets to live by. You want to have a successful life? You want to be productive? You want to avoid the pain and the turmoil and the horrible consequences that afflict so many in this life? She says, listen to me. Listen to me. I don't care if you're the king. I don't care how big your kingdom is. I don't care how successful you think that you are. These are what success is all about. And you can build huge palaces, you can establish a great kingdom, but if your character falls apart, if your home falls apart, if your children are not faithful to the Lord, then you're going to have a very painful life. And no amount of fame, no amount of money, no amount of glory can take away that pain. And indirectly, she's saying to him, don't be a pain to me. And so what you see when you get to Proverbs chapter 31 is a powerful lesson about how to live a successful life. Are you ready? Truth bomb number 1. Truth bomb number 1, verse 3. Do not give your strength to women, your ways to those who destroy kings. Secret number 1 is this. Lemuel, listen to me, son. Live with self-control. You got that? Live with self-control. Notice she says, don't give your strength. What a very powerful way of saying it. Don't give your strength to women. This is more than just a plea for purity. She's actually pleading with her son to recognize what happens in life when we give in to temptation and we give our strength to someone else. If you were to hold your place here and go back to Proverbs 7, this is an amazing story. It's actually a story that's in the Proverbs. We generally think of Proverbs as just being these little nuggets of wisdom that are just kind of dropped upon us. Well, in Proverbs 7, you have a story. And the story is of a wise man who's looking out the window of his house, and he sees a young guy walking toward a corner. And here's what I know. It's not his kid. Because if it was his kid, he would have jumped out the window and he'd have taken him down. Because what he sees is a young man who's very naive, and he's making his way to the corner where she is. And she's lying in wait for him. And she grasps him and she pulls him in. And what it's all about is somebody who gives themselves over to the temptation of sexual immorality. They may call it love, but it's not love. We know it's not love. But what happens is the young man gives his strength away. Go back to King Lemuel and listen to what she says to him here with this in mind. Don't give your ways to those who destroy kings. Work in a college town. That's where we're in Gainesville, Florida. And so we have a lot of college students who come and are a part of our church family. And I try to develop a relationship with all the kids. And we go out to eat a lot and spend a lot of time together. And often I'll get a call. And I can usually tell when it's a frantic call because it usually begins like this. Hey, Mr. Phil, are you busy Tuesday? Could we eat lunch? And I'm like, this isn't going to be a pleasant, something's on this person's mind. And I got a call like that one day, and I remember I met the guy, we met at Chipotle, and and I was just giving all this small talk, and I had just set my tray down, and he hadn't even sat down. Mr. Phil, I got to tell you, pornography's killing me. I went, oh, all right. This got serious real fast. And then he goes, I can't wait till I'm your age and this isn't a problem. I didn't know if that was a compliment or a dig. And I don't even know if I said anything in return. I probably just gave him one of these. And he goes, oh no, it never goes away. I said, well, temptation's always there. You got to determine if your strength is going to be there or you're going to give it away. I said, what's the problem? Where are you seeing all this? Where's it getting into your mind? He goes, my phone. I went, oh, do you pay for your own phone? He goes, no. Oh. So your parents gave it to you. Did you ever think about that, parents? Would you ever willingly give your child something that could take away their strength? Happens all the time. There's actually a story of the sower. You ever heard the story of the sower? Remember the part about the weeds growing up and choking the word out? You know what's scary, parents? Sometimes we've planted the weeds that choke out our children. We got to be careful. And so he and I talked about it for a little bit, and decided, well, we need to put something in place so that doesn't happen to you, and there's security measures that you could put on there, and he gave me his phone, and so I put in the security word for him, and he didn't know what it was, and so if it ever came up and there was something that he needed to search, he was going to have to call me first, and sure enough, he was trying to look for a job, and I don't know why the security standard was so high. He says, Mr. Phil, I promise you, I'm not going to look at anything bad, but what was that password again? And I went, Ahab. 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 I mean, can you think of anything worse? Manasseh would have taken too long, to write it out there. But I put securities on my phone too at that time. Because I know there's no age limit on temptation. The point King Lemuel's mom is making to him, though, is this. Every single one of us know we are vulnerable to temptation. And we all know the temptations that are great for us. Use wisdom and put procedures in place to strengthen your resolve, to strengthen your resistance, to strengthen your faith, so you don't give it away. That's wisdom. And what King Lemuel's mom is begging her son to grasp and understand is that if you really want to know strength, strength comes from the Lord. And that's a phrase that's repeated all through Scripture. It's Moses who will say in Exodus 15:3, the Lord is my strength, the Lord is my song. Hannah will say, my strength is exalted in the Lord. And then David himself in the psalm will say, the Lord is my strength and my shield. Strength represents power. It also represents control. Don't give your control away. And one of the best ways that you arm yourself, one of the best ways that you use the shield of the Lord is you recognize the areas in your life that can be great temptations, and you, through the wisdom of not only what you can learn from your parents or from a mentor, but certainly from God's Word, you put safeguards in place so that you're not going to fall over that cliff. And if it means doing what Jesus says, pluck it out, cut it off, you do it. Followed up with him a few times. I said, how you doing? He goes, I'm doing much better. He goes, you mind keeping on checking on me? Not at all. Because the safeguard was an accountability partner. You know when your mom hurts the most? Is when her children are hurting. Especially when they're hurting with temptation. In Proverbs 10 and in verse 1, a foolish son brings sorrow to his mother. Lemuel, don't be the foolish son. The first truth bomb, the first lesson to success is this. Live with self-control. Self-control with every aspect of your life. The way you spend your money, the way you look at things, the way you spend your time, what you watch, what you do. Recognize there is great value and strength that comes from harnessing, seeking self-control. Number 2, verses 4 through 7. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, or for rulers to take strong drink, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed. And they pervert the rights of all the afflicted. Give strong drink to the one who is perishing, and the wine to those in bitter distress. Let them drink and forget their poverty, and remember their misery no more. Wise truth bomb number 2. Live with wisdom. Live with wisdom. Now, you'll notice in both of these examples, she's given us clear examples that are great challenges, especially for all young people and really for all people in general. Sexual temptation and now alcohol. But she's using something that you know very well, and everybody would say, I know that's wrong. Even people who don't necessarily walk with the Lord know there's some things that are wrong. And so she's taking what is clear and obvious and she's wanting to apply it to all of his life. And here she's saying live with wisdom. And notice what she says to him. I want you to understand strong drink, wine, it's not for kings. Why? Because it'll impede your judgment. It is a very dangerous habit to get into. Let me guys ask you a question real quick. Do we really need to have the drinking debate? Do we really need to have the idea of thinking to ourselves, you know, in some places and sometimes it just might be a good idea? Do we really want to go there? Do we really want to make that sense? Let me ask you this. If you were driving down a road, let's say you were driving down a road, and you know, I found it coming over from y'all's house, I took the shortcut today instead of coming all the way man towards here. I remembered it. I remembered it. I said, man, it's a windy road, and you're going up here, and you know, you get all these beautiful homes up at the top. You go, man, it drops off pretty good there. You can imagine you're driving up on that road, and then it says, slow down, and you go, I'm not slowing down. That means to me, speed up. And then you see another sign. Many people have died here. Slow down. I'm not going to die. I speed up. And let's say you're in the car with me. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? And then you see a big barricade. Don't go beyond this point. It could kill you. And I go, let's go around it. How are you feeling if you're in the car with me? Well, if you're driving, you're thinking, I got this. If you're riding, you're like, I'm not so sure. I'll give you another example. Say you're going into surgery. Anybody ever had surgery and the doctor comes in and he says, I'm going to give you the anesthesia now. You start counting backwards from 10. And you know, most people go 10, 9. Let's say the doctor says to you, all right, I'm going to give you anesthesia in a moment. Hold on. Nurse, hold my beer. All right, start talking backwards. 10. You don't want to go to sleep? Did he just say, nurse, hold my beer? Are you kidding me? We wouldn't go for that. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that we know in certain situations we don't want it? In Proverbs 3, verse 7, do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord, turn from evil. What King Lemuel's mom's actually saying to him, he's saying, son, I want you to grasp the lesson that you really don't have to just look into God's Word to see and understand the lesson. If you can't look around and see what strong drink and alcohol has done to other people, you're closing your eyes. If you can't look around and see what some of these bad habits have done to people and have ruined their lives and destroyed, if you can't see that on your own, you need to open your eyes and understand what wisdom truly is. Lemuel, I'm telling you, I've been around a lot longer than you. In fact, it'd probably be easy to say I've got you about 30 years, easy. I've seen a lot. I remember many years ago I was a little frustrated with an older gentleman in the congregation where I was working because I thought he was way too hard on his grandson. His grandson was a firefighter and a good kid, and you know, like most firefighters, you 1 on, 2 off, 1 on, 2 off. He had a great schedule, but he also had 2 jobs. He kept himself very busy. And because he was in firefighting, he missed a lot of things, and because he had the other business, he missed a lot of opportunities, but he was being very productive, and his granddad would just ride him and ride him and ride him. You're missing too much church. You're not involved in stuff, and even when you're here, you're not doing. And I said, man, just take it easy on the kid. What, don't you see? I mean, he's a good. The point was, he'd been around a lot longer than me and knew that boy a lot longer than I had. And he saw what was coming. His grandson got involved in too much stuff. And then eventually left his wife, left the Lord. And I couldn't help but think over and over again, you know what? His granddad was right. And what's interesting now, I'm getting closer to the age of his granddad. Not quite there yet. And it's amazing how I've changed my views on so many things that when I was younger, I would say, he'll be fine. Years bring wisdom. And what Lemuel's mother is imploring him to grasp and understand is you need to have the humility to listen to wisdom. And that means listening to people who've gone down the path before. That means listening to the people who can tell you, wait, strong drink isn't for you. It's the people who are willing to tell you, wait, you need to be mindful of how you're spending your time. Maybe you need to be, wait, maybe you're spending too much time on that phone and it's becoming addictive. Maybe you need to wait, you're not giving your family enough to do. Maybe you need to wait. They know wisdom. Because it's very hard for us to see wisdom until sometimes we've seen and experienced it through the fate of forsaking it. I went to a big high school out in Texas, and it was pretty neat. Every now and then we'd have guest speakers come to the school and speak, and it was generally, you know, somebody who was a motivational speaker to fire everybody up, to get them focused on the grades, this, that, and the other. And what I began to realize is all of them had the exact same story. They had fallen off the cliff, gone off the deep end. Their life got just totally wrapped up in the weeds of life. And then through the grace of God or through some other means, they were able to work their way out. And now here they are pressing forward, and they'd fire everybody up. And I just couldn't. It was great. It was fun to see. Yay! Yay! You got out of the hole. Yay! That was great. I'm excited for it. It's good. But just once, I'd love to have heard somebody go, you know what? I heard the guy speak all the time when I was in school growing up. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I never fell in the hole. That's the kind of guy you want to learn from too, don't you think? And more importantly, isn't that what King Lemuel's mother is saying to him? I don't want you to be the guy who falls in the hole. Listen to me. Proverbs 15:20. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. The point that she wants him to understand is, be a person who learns the value of boundaries and has the humility and the wisdom to listen to the warnings that come from those who are wise. Number 3, verses 8 through 9. Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and needy. What's wisdom number 3? Live with a servant's heart. Live with a servant's heart. Lemuel, I want you to be one who opens your mouth for the mute. I want you to be one who defends the rights of the poor and the needy. King Lemuel's mother wanted her son to be a defender and a provider for those that were in need. She didn't care how big the economy was in the land. I can imagine he's FaceTiming with his mom, and he's saying, Mom, you're not going to believe, my approval rating's at 88%, and we've built this big city over here, and we've got the economy going over here, and oh my words, everything's growing over here, and oh, everything's gone. His mom's going, yeah. So who you serve, son? Who'd you have in your home? Who did you go give a meal to? Who did you get on your knees and wash their feet? That's what I want to know. I want to know, are you a person who is giving, or are you a person who is taking? Are you a consumer or a producer? There's two kinds of people in the world, right? There's people that are consumers, and there's people that are producers. I want you to grasp and understand, especially in the Lord's church, every single one of us are to be producers. You're not a consumer. Contrary to popular demand, you didn't come here tonight to go, well, I sure hope this guy can feed me something, because if I don't get fed and get what I want tonight, I'm not going back to that place. I sure hope the song leader can stir me up, because if he doesn't stir me up, I don't know if I'm ever going to want to sing here again. I came to this place and everybody's just minding their own business. They're not taking care of me. See if I ever go back there again. What do you think this is, a buffet? This isn't a department store. It's the Lord's church. And yes, indeed, we definitely need to be encouraging one another, and we want to be encouraged. But do you know what it says in Scripture in Hebrews chapter 10? Verse 25, don't forsake the assembly. You know why we come together? Anybody know why we come together? Anybody know what verse 23 and 24 say? Anybody got it? Is anybody here an extremely aggravating person? Point them out. You can point them out. If you are an thank you for being honest. This is your passage. The word stir in the Greek actually means to aggravate. The Lord, He's given you license to aggravate. But it's to aggravate for positivity. To stir people to love and good works. You are to be a producer. I want you to notice what the Scriptures have to say about this. Proverbs 19:17. Proverbs 19:17. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord. You ever thought of it like that? Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and He will repay him for his deed. There's actually a story Jesus tells in the New Testament that's that verse. It's one of the judgment stories in Matthew chapter 25. Remember when He talks about separating the goats from the left and the right? The sheep on the right, the goats on the left. And what's the difference between the sheep and the goats? Those that are going to be judged and those who are going to be praised. Did you visit me? Did you feed me? Did you clothe me? Did you give me food? And the goats are going to say, well, Lord, when were you hungry? Oh, my word, we'd have been all over it. When were you naked? We'd all good night. We'd have given you all the shirt right off our back. Oh, Lord, when were you? When you do it for the least of these, you do it to me. That's how important servitude is to the Lord. In fact, Jesus will say in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 6, we are to store up treasures in heaven. And the only way you store up a treasure in heaven is taking your earthly treasures and giving them away. It's one of the great paradoxes of life. The only true treasure you have is the treasure you have the compassion to give away. Lemuel, listen to me, says his mother. I don't care how big your kingdom is. I don't care how big your name is. Who have you helped? Who did you serve? Who did you seek? You know, I've often wondered if Lemuel's mother is a lot like all of our moms. They know us. Moms, have you figured that out, how all kids are a little bit different? Isn't it crazy? You have two kids grow up in the same house, you're like, oh my word, they're completely different opposites. Our oldest, she would have woken up, if we allowed her, at 5 in the morning to start her homework every day. It's like, whoa, it's a weird kid. I know. No, you can't do that. Wait, because I don't want to get up that early. You wait. Her mom was actually her teacher. I don't know what I'm saying. Well, no, you're not getting up there. The son, on the other hand, can we get up at 7 at night? What's going on here? You know, it's like, I mean, ask Jake. It's Jake. He got things done, but they're different. They're different. Great kids, but they're different. Moms know the differences. Moms know the weaknesses. And maybe she's saying to her son, I know that you're prone to selfishness. It's a big vice for you. And you've been blessed greatly. You better learn how to give it away. Use your mouth for the mute. Use your rights for all who are destitute. Defend those in need. James says it like this to all of us. You know what true religion is? True religion? James 1 verse 27. True religion, pure religion that is undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their time of trouble and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. That's true religion. Number 4. Beginning in verse 10, all the way to verse 27, we find this powerful, beautiful description of a worthy woman. For time's sake, I'm not going to read all of it. I know you've heard it before, but I would like to read a few excerpts for you if you don't mind. An excellent wife who can find? She's far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts her, and she has no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. Verse 15, she rises while it is still yet night, and she provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field, and she buys it, and with the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength, and she makes her arms strong. She opens her hand, verse 20. She opens her hand to the poor and she reaches out her hands to the needy. Verse 24, she makes linen garments and sells them, and she delivers sashes to the merchants. Strength and dignity are her clothing. Verse 26, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Here's number 4. Lemuel, listen to me. Live with godly people. Live with God. There's a lot of people in your life and a lot of people you need to be around, and there's a lot of people that you need to be an influence, and the Lord has called you to be a light to this world, and that means everywhere that you can shine your light, you go and you shine it. But those that are closest to you, those that are living with you, those that are the ones who are really involved in your life, those that are involved in your life to an extent that they will change you and mold you, those that are involved in your life, that they're within that inner tight circle, you make sure they are the best of the best. You seek the one who is worthy, the one who is godly. In Proverbs 13 and verse 20, we all know this passage. The companion of a fool will suffer harms. And so one of the things that you see over and over and over again in Scripture is this: choose your friends wisely. Choose your friends wisely. And especially when it comes to choosing somebody who is going to be with you the remainder of your life, make sure it is someone who is godly, somebody who is worthy, somebody who is truly excellent. Can I have all the men's attention? Every single guy, I need your eyeballs right here. This is very important. Instagram, social media, YouTube, Netflix, it's killing you. It's killing you. Because in all of these mediums that are so accessible and easy for us to have infiltrating our minds are showing us pictures of women that are not this women. And on the outside, they're seductive. On the outside, they're so appealing. On the outside, they appeal to us, and they're very easy to follow. They're very easy to swipe and to look for more, and they're very easy to find. And they are killing you. Because they're distorting in your heart what is the true image of beauty and beautiful. And what's so sad is there's so many women that are so desperate for attention. They'll dress like that, act like that, put themselves out there like that because they want to catch a guy's eye. And they've caught yours. You ever heard of the word attraction? Somebody's attractive. Can I give you another way to think about that? You know what attractive means? She's attractive or he's attractive. It means they draw you in. They're like the Death Star. They have a tractor beam. That's exactly what it is. And they draw you in to where you can't get out of the grasp of it. And you go right in to Vader. Remember Samson? Remember the story of Samson? Not all his strength. I mean, Samson was so strong, but he was really the weakest guy ever to walk the earth, if you really want to look at it. Remember his first relationship? Mom, Dad, I saw this woman. Get her for me. Whoa, Samson, you're deep. What is it about it? She's attractive. Get her for me. We hadn't even met her yet. She looks great. Get her for me. Did he grunt when he said it? Woman. Anybody remember how that first relationship turned out for Samson? He had to have her. Oh, man, she was it. Remember how that? They got divorced before the wedding was over. 7 days of wedding, they were done. Do you not remember that? And he ended up giving her up and giving her over to the best man. I'm out of here. Wow, Samson, really good job there, stud. That's not even the Delilah story. Because he did it again with her. Like attracts like. Like attracts like. Whatever is your tractor beam, whatever is attractive to you, that's who you are. Ladies, can I have your attention, please? Please listen to me. Don't give in to the world's definition of beautiful. It's a horrible trap. The sexy clothing, the scantily clad, the short bathing attire, it doesn't make you beautiful. It only makes you attractive to the man who admires that. You know what's so powerful about the worthy woman? We're not given hardly any description of her appearance. Isn't that amazing? Other than she dressed herself with dignity. And I know, guys, that God has made us to be visual creatures. But we need to understand that He's also made us wise creatures if we'll open our minds to His wisdom. And we need to be the men that God has called us to be, to understand what's beautiful. I read this quote not long ago, and I thought it was so powerful. A woman's heart should be so lost in Christ that in order to seek her, a man must first seek Him. Did you catch that? A woman's heart should be so lost in Christ that in order to seek her, a man must first seek Him. I think you could invert that as well, don't you? You know what you see in this worthy woman? She's not focused on herself, is she? She's modest. She's consistent. She's industrious. She's caring. She's busy. She's busy serving everyone that she can. And that's why she's harder to find. That's why she's such a jewel. That's why her husband rises up and calls her blessed. And you know what's interesting sometimes when you really think about it, especially our moms? Do our moms sometimes go a little crazy on us? Can we admit that that's probably a little fair? And that's not a knock on moms. Moms have a tendency to go a little crazy on you. And if you've ever noticed that some of the biggest fights you've ever had has probably been with your mom. Isn't that odd that the person who loves you the most, cares for you most, does the most for you is the person you're actually fighting with? I mean, how demented are we? But to be fair, moms are a little bit crazy. And you know why they're like that? Because you are everything to them. Every longing, every desire, every effort, every ounce of energy, all the meals, all the clothes, all the washing, all the teaching, all the tutoring, all the rides, all the encouragement, all the admonishment. It's her life. And if you have a mom who is just a little bit crazy, you need to thank the Lord every day. Because she's a worthy woman. And what you need to have in your life is a woman who is just like this. I tell you, I go around and I have the privilege to preach at a lot of churches in a lot of different places. And you know what I see everywhere I go? I see wonderful powerful, godly, worthy women who are single. Salt of the earth, shining lights, worthy women that deserve our praise and our adoration. And I plead with them, don't ever give in. Don't ever give up to the world's standards. Be who you're supposed to be. And I plead with the men wherever I go to wake up. It's 31 years ago. I had moved to Dothan, Alabama, and was in a preacher training program, and an older gentleman who was very close to me in the congregation would always usually comment, especially after I preached, and meet me in the back, and he was always very encouraging, but he was also a good friend, and sometimes he and sometimes he would say it in a way that wasn't exactly, well, let's just say he didn't necessarily need to treat everybody the way he treated me. For example, one Sunday morning I was standing in the back, just out there, standing right there against that back wall by that door, and you imagine everybody just got out of services. He sat right here, and the first place he went was right on back there to me, and I'm just standing there, and I said, "Hey, Brother Moss, how are you?" And he took his finger and he put it right in my chest, and he goes, "You're an idiot!" About that loud. I said, "Say it louder. I don't think the church down the street heard you." He goes, "Okay, you're an idiot." Like, what'd I do? He goes, "You see that girl over there?" And he pointed to the girl who had been living there for a couple of years, had just graduated from Auburn with a degree as a dietitian and moved to Dothan without a lot of friends, but very committed in the church, was teaching Bible class. She was visiting the sick, helping make meals, and this, that, and the other. He said, "That is a worthy woman. Why aren't you dating her?" So I married her. I'm not an idiot. Stupid. You didn't call me dumb. I'll show you. And I couldn't help but think, he was exactly right. And I knew that he knew that my vision was a little tainted. And to this day, I can't help but thank him for dropping the bomb on me. Now let me just say, you don't necessarily need to do it to somebody in front of the whole church. Everything on here. But an excellent wife, who can find? She does him good all the days of her life. I'll say to all of you who are single, I want you to remember the words of my good friend Shane Scott. Bear this in mind. Always remember this, and don't ever give in to the world. I plead with you, don't ever give in to the world's definition. Remember, marriage is temporary. Heaven is forever. Choose wisely. Lemuel, live with godly friends. And then number 5, her last truth bomb, verses 28 to 31. Her children rise up and they call her blessed. Her husband also, he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. Number 5, live to be a blessing to others. What makes the worthy woman so powerful and what makes her example so worthy of our praise is that she lived her life to be a blessing to others. And therefore, it is only appropriate that her husband and her family and those around her rise up and call her blessed. The word blessed actually comes from the root word and it implies straight. In the widest sense, if you were to look at it in Strong's dictionary, it would be the idea of happy and right. In other words, this is the straight, this is the right, This is the happy way. And women are to be loved. And our mothers are to be praised. And those who are walking in the fear of the Lord deserve our adoration. And I know that in the world around us we praise a lot of things. We give glory to a lot of people. But the Lord tells us very clearly that those who walk in the way of the Lord and those who give their life to the Lord are worthy of our praise, and we need to praise them. And to all the women here, to all the mothers here, we rise up tonight and call you blessed, because you have blessed us, just like King Lemuel's mother had blessed him. To all the kids, I'll say to you in closing, go back and read this story. It's a great story, isn't it? Hopefully you thought, I didn't see all that in there. Yes, it's there. Who was King Lemuel? Do you know one of the big debates today? Who was he? Who was this Lemuel guy? You know what Lemuel actually means? His name means devoted to God. Devoted to God. His mom named him devoted to God. Was it Hannah? You know, is that what this is my son, I'm devoted him to God. Some have said, well, is it Hezekiah? He certainly walked with the Lord. Where did this come? Was it Solomon? Could it have been Solomon? Maybe. We don't know. The point is, it could be any of us if we have a mother who is devoted to pointing us to God. And the tooth bombs that come from the godly mom are live with self-control, live with wisdom, live with a servant's heart, live with godly people. And if you want to have great success and joy in life, live to be a blessing to others. I don't know if my mom's watching tonight. It's been kind of cool this past year. She's got to watch me a lot, living in Texas. But I would say to her, like all of us need to say to our moms, especially those of us who are blessed with mothers of great faith. Many have done well, but you excel them all. I rise up and I call you blessed. And so to Mom, I say thank you. I love you. She dropped many truth bombs on me and still does at 77 years old. Because that's what a good mama does. May we be the children we need to be and listen to her. I would imagine if King Lemuel's mom was around today, she would add one more thing to this. One more. Live with Jesus. Live with Jesus. He is the source of all truth. He is the source of all wisdom. He is the way and the truth and the life. And so I would remind you to listen and to follow Him. And can I leave you with just one more nugget of wisdom? Always keep this in mind. This life is the shortest thing you will ever do. This life is the shortest thing you will ever do. Do it well. Listen to your mama. Tonight, if we can encourage you in any way to walk with the Lord, if you need help in any way to grow in the Lord, if you just simply need some encouragement, you need the prayers, you need a hug, you need any kind of encouragement that we can give you tonight. More importantly, if you need to give yourself to the Lord tonight and to have your sins washed away in the blood of the Lamb, we are waiting for you. If you will but come while we stand and while we sing.